Brendan.
Tony, was there a conversation of what to do after Edwin and Mike had it seemed like an interaction on the sideline, let him back in? I guess how do you handle something like that in real time?
Yeah, you gotta handle it right there when it happens. You know, you had you didn't have the ideal situation, right? We stop him, and Edwin lines up, and he's a guy who, you know, he wanted to block the kick, so he left. I mean, you look at the replay, he left a blink early. They called a flag, and then a couple plays later they score. So that's a touchdown off the board. Because I didn't know if he missed a field goal, but that's a touchdown off the board. And when he was coming off, he knew what he had did. Like he had to put it back in his mind. You know, you got to remember, he jumped off sides, and then he gave up the damn touchdown. So, guys, everybody in the world, however many millions of people were watching, he gave up the touchdown. So he was gathering himself up, and then, you know, coach went over there and said, yo, like, what the hell are you doing? And you know, it was emotions on the sideline, you know what I mean? Which, that's the competition, all that kind of stuff. But sat down, told Ed, like, bro, you can't do that kind of stuff, you know? And when he calmed down, it was like, bro, like, you can't act like that, you know what I mean? So conversations were had, and it was like, you know, you gotta be right. You gotta be right in there. And he went back and he stayed composed, and he helped make numerous plays in there where, like, it gave us a chance to win the game. So again, like, those things are gonna happen. You gotta make sure you address it, and address it in the game, address it after the game, address it in meetings. So, like, you wanna make sure you give him a chance to know and recoup from that.
When you guys have the conversation on the sideline after he's kind of gathering himself, it's like the way he reacts instructive on how you determine, like, am I going to put him back out in the right? Is he emotionally composed?
If the guys are too damn wild and stuff, and he can't calm down, he ain't going back in the damn game.
Mm-hmm.
No way. He's gonna cost you. You know what I mean? Like, lose your emotions. It cost you earlier, right? But at some point in time, like, Coop was there with them and coaching. He's like, hey, he better be right. You know, he better be right. And he calmed down, and he ended up playing and making some really big time plays. So again, that's part of the process. That's part of growth, right? Like, you know, and you get in those games, and everybody knew how tight it was, and you know what I mean, like, you wish he had handled it differently, and he will learn, and he will get better from that moment.
Liam?
I know there's the 15-play drive, and there's been a couple of those long, drawn-out drives in the last few games.
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that, and how do you kind of nail the focus on those third downs, those opportunities to get off the field that seemingly are being converted right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right? If you're having long drives like that, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you're doing good enough to where they're not hitting big plays. They gotta drive the ball down the field. And you ask any DC, that's what you want. You want an offense to have to operate down the field, because at some point in time, you think you're gonna take the ball away, you're gonna hit it for a tackle for loss, you're gonna do something to disrupt it, and they're gonna punt the ball. Well, guess what? That's third downs. And I've said this in the streak of the games lost, we've had critical third downs and long, where, you know, where it was either a bad play call by me or just not executing, didn't put them in enough good situations in during the week to where they didn't execute, and we didn't execute that one. You know, we called up a game, and the game is coming scot-free. If you look at it, Jenkins is running right at him scot-free and is going to sack him, do all that kind of stuff. We just didn't hold up. I didn't give the DBs enough tools back there to hold it off for that split second. So I'm going to take the blame for that one too. But that's what you want. You want offenses to have to work, have to march down the field, have to do that, because you don't think they can do it consistently. You know what I mean? The first drive of the first game, I think the debut was something like 18 plays, wasn't it? They went 18 plays and scored, and then they couldn't do it again like that. So that's what you want. But you gotta win the situations. You gotta win third down, and we did.
Chris?
When you're facing a backup quarterback who looks shaky at best, with team passing sub 50%, do you consider selling out, just stop the run, go away from three safeties out there? Just what's the thought process in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and look at schematically wise, right? You got backup quarterbacks there, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't get them in situations to show that they're the backup. If they can operate their regular offense, then they're operating their regular offense. You got to get them in a situation where, guess what? He's got to drop back 15 times now to try to win the game, and that's where interceptions come. That's where sacks come. That's where those things come. So you look at it, and I think it's the last 4 or 5 series of the game, you know, you had the long series, the 15 play one, where again, we get them in multiple third downs and we don't do it. But after that, they won a series and they tried to run the ball. They couldn't run the ball. Then they went back and they opened it up and they actually threw the ball 3 times, I think, in a row, and he couldn't throw the ball. And then it went back to running the ball and they couldn't run the ball. You know what I mean? So, you know, the guys executed when we need to get the ball back, but we gotta be better in those third downs earlier in the game, and we can't have critical penalties that put points on the board. I mean, that's 7 points. That's 7 points. The offense should have went down there, kicked the field goal, we won, we would have been celebrated. That's self-inflicted.
Aslan.
Just how surprised are you that you guys find yourself in a 4-game losing streak after the way you guys looked those first 3 games?
I mean, of course, it's surprising, but you know, you gotta stick to the process. You gotta stick to seeing growth. You gotta stick to seeing improvement. You gotta, you know, you can't shy away from that. That's what this is. You're gonna win. You're gonna lose, but you gotta adapt to what's going on. And I mean, you come out there and watch them practice. You watch them practice today, and it was probably one of our more physical practices. Those guys running around. You know, I myself have to watch, you know, listening, having people on the outside world tell everybody how crappy we are and all this kind of stuff. Imagine those guys in the locker room being bombarded with how crappy you are, all this stuff, your coaches are crap, all this kind of stuff, the stuff they got to deal with, and yet they're still expected to go out there and bust their butt and be as physical as all hell and make sure they represent this place as all possible. You know what I mean? That's a lot of noise for those guys. You know what I mean? So they went out there today and they worked. You know what I mean? They worked their butt off, and they've been working their butt off. I looked at the thing from 2024, and I saw scores of 50-3, 36-11, saw 2, 3, 4 touchdown games. Guess what, guys? These guys are battling their ass off to give us a chance to win the game. Whether it was 40, 48-36 in double overtime to a top 20 team, one of the best offenses in the country, or whether it was 20-13, okay, the last plays of drive, they're battling their ass off to give Florida State a chance to win this game. Okay, they're 2 totally different teams. Those are 2 totally different mentalities, and myself especially, I gotta give them something, just one thing to go out there and help them. Like one thing to go out there and help them. You know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to fix. You know, we're trying to make sure that they're confident in their ability. There's some good football players. There's some good young men in that room, and you want to do everything you can to give them that one play, that one third down in that 15-play drive. Guys, we're not talking about this. You know what I mean? We're celebrating victory, getting ready in the bye week, doing all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what then? That means us as coaches got to find that one play, got to find that one thing, got to find that one technique, take away that one defense, do those little things to give them that one chance. While the whole world telling them how crappy we are and all that kind of stuff, we got to give them that one chance so they can go out there and perform. So they went out there today and they practiced their tails off, and kudos to that, kudos to them. But we got work to do. We got to make sure we do things right.
Brendan?
Have you, I guess kind of a 2-part, but have you talked to your guys about that outside noise? Clearly it's something that you guys it's there. And then also, you just as a professional, as a veteran in this industry, like how are you handling that as well?
Well, one, Coach Norvell, I mean, constantly, that's been from day one, whether good or bad. You know what I mean? Like the old adage, the rat poison, right? Just do it. Just concentrate on this. Concentrate on what we're doing, because again, like, you want to get caught up in it, you'll get caught up in it. Like you'll get caught up in it real quick. Whether it's player, you'd be surprised, right? You hear the stories and you hear all the stuff, that all the negativity that can come out, blah blah. I mean, got death threats, got all this kind of stuff. You know, in my Twitter, If I want to get caught up in it, I get caught up in it. It would take me to a black hole. But you know what? Like, they don't see the work. They don't see the guys in the locker room. They don't see that those guys are. It's not the same. It's not the same losing. They're there and they're fighting. You know what I mean? And I've been on some teams where we've come into places and there's a process, right? There's a process of, you got a bunch of guys and they lose one year. Then you got a process of a bunch of guys and they start fighting back and they start losing those 1-possession games. And then all of a sudden, guys, it turns around and now they win. They learn and they win. And now you got a team that just knows how to win. Well, guess what? That's what they're going through. That's exactly what they're going through, to give us a chance to be in it in those last minutes. Kevin Sperry comes in there, okay, and everybody, I guarantee you, everybody said, yeah, that's game. I bet you nobody had him driving down the field and getting our ass in a position on the 1 inch away from tying that up and going into overtime win. Not one person said it, but the guys on that sideline. Okay, that's these guys. So there's something brewing. There's something brewing right there. That's like, hey, they can use this adversity to get them where we need to go, so we can pull out those one play victories and one series victories and go ahead and go forward.
In particular, have you received death threats?
You do that all the time, bro. Like that's real. Like whoever it is, you death threats, the worst DC in the country. You know, take you and your family. Da 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 da. Like, guys, that's just part of social media, right? Like, you know, that's the vitriol that's out there. You know, but the again, and that's what you sign up for in this profession. But that's not why I do it. You know, I mean, I like talking to guys. I like writing good stories about guys. I love when those guys are shining and they feel confident and they represent their families, they represent this university the right way. You know what I mean? But when you're not producing the way you're supposed to produce, you know, obviously there's a couple of those people that want to let you know, and that's fine. I get it, but that doesn't mean that we can't go out there and we can't work. We can't continue to fight. We can't continue to find ways, and that's what Coach Norvell is doing, finding ways, different ways amongst all the noise and all the darkness, finding ways to make sure those players know, like, dude, we're right there. We're right there, and all we need to do is break through, and it'll be bright days.
Anything else? Corey?
How do you, because there is so much speculation, we all know it, we all saw the release yesterday, you did too. How do you keep your feet present and not think about what your life is gonna be like December 15th, or what these players' lives are gonna be like? How do you as a coach, and also keep your players from drifting into the future and think about like right here, right now?
I mean, that's I mean, it's a little easier said than done. I mean, like, do you know what you're gonna wear to work tomorrow? No. I mean, I have no idea. I got no idea what I'm gonna see on this practice film. I just know what I just saw. But again, that's where you double down on your process. I mean, like, you got two outcomes, right? Everything goes wrong, you're gonna have to deal with it. But guess what? I believe in the power of positivity. Everything's gonna go right. And there's a totally different outcome. You know what I mean? And that's what those young men deserve. That's what Florida State deserves. I mean, that's what Coach Norvell deserves. So we need to work. We need to find a way. We need to stay positive. We need to, you know, drown out all the noise and make sure that we just focus on each day and each rep and each thing we got to handle. And if we do that right, you got to believe that things are going to be okay. So.
Okay, thanks, Coach.